Okay, so right here you're going to be adding in your framing. Now the framing of this is going to be going up by 4 and across by about 3 to 4 every single time. Did 5 on this specific one because it's the entrance, and I like to have it a single block entrance, so that way you're able to enter more easily and the door is more centered. Now when building, you add the frames in, so that way you know exactly where you're going to place the insides of your thing, such as windows, walls, and various interior. Now the thing about interior is that you never put it in before you build the exterior. Anybody who's ever built before has either encountered this problem or has attempted to try and do it the other way around, and it hasn't worked out well. As you can see, I'm putting up frames in between the two large ones to break it up and make it seem more natural and even throughout the build. These larger portions are pretty easy to fill in, so now I'm going to be putting the wood in by 1 block. I always put it in by 1 block because it allows the build to have more depth and shape behind it. Now normally it's best to do this because if somebody looks at your build without this 1 block, it's going to look rather square and it's going to have less shape to it. And this shape will make your build a lot nicer. This build is a lot of repetition, just like any other build, as long as you're either making it symmetrical or just putting up walls. Now, when putting in the wall, you're going to want to make sure that they all go in by 1, because every once in a while you're going to have a mistake where you actually put 1 block out or you miss a block. So just like that, you're going to want to go through and just double check everything like I did right there, break the blocks. If you're doing this in survival, I would suggest doing it the way I'm doing it, where you leave the spots that you want to put glass in open in the first place, so then you can save yourself a bit of time and place the glass blocks in later. Now in the entrance bit, you're going to want to put down an upside down stair, like I did here, because it just adds a layer of depth, so you can just slip that door in behind it, and then it looks as if the door were to be integrated into the wall. Now you're going to want to build a second section. The second section is going to be about the same height, maybe a bit taller than the bottom part. Now make sure not to do the entire roof, because it's not going to quite look right if you do the entire house and build a roof over the entire house. What you're going to want to do is pick a larger part of it, like I did here, and pick a smaller part and just leave the smaller part as one layer with just the one layer of house, and then put in the roof. And then the second part, you're going to want to build up the frame and build the walls up again, repetition, and then slap another roof on top of it. Now when you're putting in the actual roof itself, when you're putting in the frame, I like to leave it blank like that, so then you can just put the walls in, and then later you can come back and you can put the floor in. So as you can see here, I'm just doing a lot of repetition, same thing as the bottom. Just put in the walls, put them in bit by bit. Alright, now, when placing the blocks, you then want to go. Then you're going to continue your repetitive pattern. Now I usually leave that part blank, so that way you don't have to go through and replace it again when you're putting in your second floor. For the floor, whenever I use spruce, I like to use dark oak, because it's a good contrast to colors. You can use just about anything. I mean, you could use sponge and it'd still look really nice because you have the shape of your actual house built out, so as long as nobody went inside, it'd be pretty nice. Next up, for this part right here, as you can see, I left out some frame, so I went back and I put some more frame in. Then I started adding in the roof. Now the roof has 2 different colors because those colors contrast nicely, and is what I've been using throughout the rest of the build. Plus, for rustic houses, you're usually going to want to use some form of wood because it looks the best with the house itself. Now, when putting in the wood, you're going to want to have A-frames for your roof, because if you use anything else, it'll be a completely different house. I'm sure you could put different types of roofs in with your actual A-frame, and it might look okay, but it'll get a little confusing when you're building the sections of the roof and connecting them, because if you try to connect a Viking style roof and an A-frame, it won't look quite right, it just comes out a little lopsided and top heavy. So as you can see here, I'm just going to start finishing up the roof. Now I'm just doing this so you have a general idea of what an A-frame would look like. It's a bit of staircases on either side equally placed on top of each other and then filled it all the way. Now this is just a general idea, so when you go back and do the roof on the second part of the house, you can finish it off. Alright, now when you're putting in your stairs, you can do two choices. I'm choosing to put them on the outside slightly because it just looks a bit nicer, but you can also put them one layer in, giving it a whole new layer of depth. But if you do that, it's going to take a lot more time and effort because you're going to have to plan out exactly how it would look. I just use slabs because it's the fastest method with this one. Usually I fill in this wall, so that way you can just have this part connecting to the house, and it doesn't look like it's just floating there. There we go, and then boom. See, so now that you have your first roof, it's already time to build together. Then when you're putting in this, you're going to want to just put a layer of these right there, a layer of logs around it, and then behind that, put in your actual wall, so that way the pattern is continued and it looks like it's part of the house. Now you're going to go up to the top, where you've started your second story, and you're going to build another A-frame. Now the A-frame up here is going to be a little bit longer, but it's the same concept. You've got your outside part with a bit of a darker color, so that way it has more contrast, and then you're going to have your inside where it's a slightly darker color. Now you're going to take this all the way around the house. Now to cut back time, I've just stopped the video and then started back up after I built it. I put a line straight through the middle because it looks more like it's been broken up and has a bit more shape and definition to it. Now the actual house itself, I have the A-frames on the edge as well by the the right window, so that way it has more of an arch. Now when you come back after I've done the windows, you are going to see where it breaks off on both sides and it shows you that you've done the window. Now for the windows, you're going to want to use any color because for spruce it works with just about anything. Now that you've completed all of your windows, you want to go through and make sure that all of your arches are completed. Now here I missed one of the windows, so I just went back and filled it in real quick, and that was it. Occasionally you're going to miss bits and pieces, just fill them in, it works. Now you can see that I built up the arch. I went through and I decided that it would be better if you had an arch on both sides, so that way you could keep it equal, keep it symmetrical. Now you're going to want to go through and put an arch over the windows so you have that extra layer of depth. Now for the windows, I wanted to keep it real simple and easy, so I chose some pretty basic blocks. Now I'm going to show you what I did. So for the windows, I chose some pretty simple ones. Some cobblestone wall on the bottom, some oak fence, and some slabs over the top. Now I put the dirt behind some trapdoors, so that way you could have some plants and pottery, so you could add more color to the actual house itself. And when you add this extra color, it just makes the house pop a bit, add a bit more detail to your actual build. So now you're going to see me go through, and I'm going to start picking out some plants. Now when you pick out your plants, you can use just about anything so long as the space allows for it. Such as if you had a window that's 2 blocks tall, like mine, you're usually going to want to pick 1 block tall flowers, ferns, plants, and you can, or pottery. I chose to just do flowers because that's the easiest way, and when you're putting in flowers, try to add some variations, because if it's just all red flowers, that would be kind of nice, but at the same time it's a little boring, so it's best to add in different colors on the flowers, such as I added some white ones in here, then some tulips, then I put in some azures. Now that you've added in most of your flowers, you're going to start seeing a complete difference in the build if you hadn't already seen it from the arches of the windows. Now, you can see me going over with bits and pieces because I've forgotten certain flowers and areas, and if that's the case, that's alright. You just forgot to put in a couple flowers. Just go back, add some more flowers, and you're good to go. Then, once you've added in all your flowers, you're going to want to go around your house. Just breathe it all in and take a good look. Now, all that's left is a door and some flooring. And I'm not going to be doing interior. This video, if you'd like to see the interior of this house, comment down below. See you next week. For more building with house.